The first most mega hype unit that's ever released in this game's history is the LR AGL SSJ4 Gogeta. You know we had to lead off with him. Come on, you know it wouldn't be a video during the Global Dokkan campaign if we did not mention this guy. He is just insanely hyped, dude. They gave him such amazing animations. He's the #1 unit in the game right now. Not undisputed, but he is the #1 unit in the game right now to majority of the community. He just does crazy damage. He tanks well, his counters. He's just aura farming the entire time. And he starts off as a standalone fusion turn 1, which we have not had since 2020. That is insane. So it's pretty incredible. Or I think maybe 2021 with the that's 2020 with the STR Gogeta, and it's just pretty crazy to see how much effort they put into this unit, and it just shook the community. The top grossing went crazy. I think we're still #1 in top grossing, by the way. That is how much of a monumental shift this unit has been to this game. Again, the whole community has just been on the same mindset of absolute hype with this unit. Alright, the next unit, let's talk about his other version, which is the Year 7. Another monumental time during this Dokkan history. You know, not only was it power creep, which took out basically everything else before the 7th anniversary, but also they gave us units with some of the best animations we've ever seen during that time. Amazing leader skills. The units were really good. Of course, you got to use Gogeta very easily as a turn 4 fusion, and of course you were activating that and seeing his awesome Fighters ultimate when Fighters content was still pretty prominent in terms of source material. Again, a lot of things about these units just made them look really awesome, dynamic. Again, at the time, it was an animation step up. And that's why they're some of the most memorable releases in Dokkan history, and why a lot of people wanted them to be broken, and right now they are, and everyone's getting to enjoy these units since they're finally just back on top in high tier, top 5 units, and it's just really fun to run these units, and why they were some of the craziest releases in Dokkan history. Alright, the next unit I want to look at is STR Super Gogeta. Of course, he had to be on this list. He is the first anniversary unit to ever release. Well, Ingenemba was there too, I guess, but he was a all-types lead, so you could run any team you want, and he's one of the most dominant units in Dokkan history. I have to put Beast Gohan over him, but Gogeta changed the entire game when he stepped foot into Dokkan. If you did not have him, you had to re-roll. Now, again, the argument is, well, if he had a reroll, then he's more dominant than Beast Gohan, but also you got to remember, everyone else before him, there was like 4 or 5 Dokkan Fests before him, so it's not like you were re-rolling and you were losing much. Even if Beast Gohan was that much better than your account, you're not going to re-roll for him. You've already done too much. You've grinded too much. You're not going to restart your game to get a unit that's that good. But Gogeta, again, was an insanely strong unit, especially when paired with the Gotenks, and then later on, Super Vegito. He was a must-have unit in your account, or you just were not going to be able to complete like half of the game. You just would not be able to do anything. You'd be stuck there just trying to figure out what to do against some of these harder content, because Gogeta was just that good at that time. And again, the reason why he was so hyped during his release. Next, we got the Year 5s. They're on this list because this is the first time we got to see Gogeta Blue and Vegito Blue during an anniversary level celebration. This is also Gogeta Blue's 2nd card, and this is the first time we got to see him going from base to blue. And again, he was his first time as an LR with very dynamic animations with a full force Kamehameha and the meteor explosion. You know, they really did an amazing job of capturing all the hype moments for Gogeta on that card that were not on the AGL version of that card, which we're going to talk about later in this video. Vegito Blue, same thing. Vegito Blue, this is also his first summonable LR and standalone card, and his first transforming card in this game. This is Gogeta Blue's 2nd transforming card. But again, both of them were transforming. They had some of the best active animations that have aged incredibly over the years, and the reason why a lot of people look back at them as some of the most hyped units in Dokkan history. Alright, let's stick on the fusion train for a second, because we know a lot of fusions are going to be on this list. Let's talk about the Year 3s, who were so hyped because they were our introduction to transforming units. Granted, you almost never saw them transform, but when you did, you were like, oh my gosh, this is so cool. Finally getting to see my unit become something else. And it was a fusion, of course, and they also introduced... well, no, they didn't, technically. But they introduced categories, quote-unquote, but... they were still really good. They were the first anniversary units to bring in categories per se. But again, the Fusion category, the Patara category, and they were just really fun releases. And the first Dokkan Fest LR as well for just in general. And so that's the reason why they were so coveted. First Dokkan Fest LRs, they transformed, amazing leader skills. It was like, it kind of gave you that same feel you got from year one. I need to have them. They're so good and they're so cool. Now let's talk about a release that shook the community, and that is Ultra Instinct Goku. Talk about a hype. Not only was it Ultra Instinct's first introduction to the game as a summonable card, but also he just showed up basically within hours after seeing him in the anime for the first time. Granted, it was not his Dokkan Awakened art, but his SSR art, his whole SSR card, hit the game as a banner hours after it showed up in the anime, and you just got to summon for him. UI Goku, after watching, like, imagine if they did that with Daima. You know how crazy that would have been? Like, days later, you get to summon for mini Super Saiyan 4 Goku or adult Super Saiyan 4 Goku. And I get Ultra Instinct, you could say, was a more hype form. I understand that. But still, it is just crazy how, like, just, there it is. There's UI Goku. Go ahead, right? Like, it's just, that's just not anything you'll ever experience if you were not playing back then. And it was one of the most hype releases during the game's history. Just to get a new character right away like that, it was just so cool. Alright, next we have LR STR Beast Gohan. I was kind of on the fence of adding him because I don't really love his animations. I get he was broken, tanky, and then of course this is our first playable Beast Gohan in the game, and he's an anniversary unit. So I can understand all those reasons for him being one of the most hype releases in the game. I just think kind of the Fraudhan killed the momentum of wanting a Beast Gohan, in my opinion. Again, I still think he is a hype unit. A lot of people agreed. Again, I took a poll on some of these units. They're like, oh yeah, I would agree with that. So that's the reason why he's here. I don't know if I would put him in some of the categories of some of these units like UI Goku or the first transforming Dokkan Fest LRs, you know, and stuff like that. But I do think Beast Gohan's first introduction as an LR, as a standalone Beast Gohan as well, and he was tanky and an anniversary unit. Like, that's just, you know, there's a lot of layers to the reason why he definitely could be considered one of the most hype releases in Dokkan history. Alright, next we got the LR TEQ Super Gogeta. Who doesn't love our first fusing Gogeta unit? Okay, well, technically second, but our first high-quality fusing Gogeta unit with the most insane animations in the game. If Vegito had that same treatment, I feel like it would just been a lot easier. Plus, you got to see Super Gogeta way more than you got to see Super Vegito. So, again, that's the reason why I have him on the list over Vegito. It's not that I don't think Vegito wasn't hype. I just think the fact that I just think Gogeta was infinitely more hype because you got to use him more, his animations were better, etc. So again, that's the reason why I had TEQ Gogeta on this list. I don't think Super Vegito is bad. I think he had some of the craziest animations in the game. But, and again, you can argue with me in the comments below if you think Super Vegito, the STR one, should have been on this list. But I definitely think TEQ Gogeta deserves a nod here for how quality his animations are, how well they have aged, and how much you got to use the TEQ Gogeta over time, of course. And then even compare up to now, you know, you use TEQ Gogeta more than the Vegito. So again, TEQ Gogeta deserves to be on this list. All right, let's wind the clock back a little bit. Let's go look at the first worldwide download celebration ever, the TEQ Super Saiyan 4 Gogeta and Fizz Omega Shenron. We kind of reviewed it earlier in some previous videos in the week, but we're going to look at these two because they were one of the most anticipated releases in the game. Our first real Omega Shenron and our first ever Super Saiyan 4 Gogeta. I say real, not that STR Omega was bad, but Fizz Omega definitely got a way better treatment and some pretty good animations. The Super Saiyan 4 Gogeta, of course, was insanely broken on his release. His leader skill, you know, it was decent, but Fizz Omega's was definitely better. Let's not get it twisted. But, dude, Super Saiyan 4 Gogeta, dude, just infinite aura farmer with his counter. He had the sparkly aura, the big bang Kamehameha. I mean, how could you not want this unit? And then Fizz Omega had some pretty cool animations as well. And again, the reason why they were on here. A lot of these units that are on here are because it's their first introduction into the game and why they were so hyped. Or they just had an insane animation budget. AGL Super Saiyan 4 Gogeta. Alright, I told you we were going to talk about these units. We got AGL, Gogeta Blue, and Fizz DBS Broly. They are on this list. This is their first introduction in the game, and they came out a month after the JP showing of the movie. So basically, it was a pretty quick turnaround. Not as quick as UI Goku, clearly, but you got to use the Super Saiyan Gogeta that went into Super Saiyan Blue, and then you got to use the Super Saiyan DBS Broly that went into the full power Super Saiyan Broly mode. The AGL Gogeta Blue has some pretty incredible animations, especially in Gogeta Blue, with the flip into the blue balls, and then you got the Soul Punisher. It was really cool. I really do enjoy the AGL Gogeta Blue's animation. I didn't really like the Broly animations too much. Not that they didn't look bad. I mean, back then they looked pretty decent, but I mean, look back and get now, Gogeta Blue definitely got more love out of that, the Stardust Fall and the Flip. I mean, he kind of got some pretty good love there. But, I mean, Broly's roar animation is not too bad, but it doesn't mean that these weren't hype, because, again, it's a fusion, a Broly, and the movie was peak. So, of course, they were insanely hype releases. Alright, the next unit we're looking at is the LR Int Super Saiyan 4 Goku. He's a more recent unit, so it is pretty surprising that he's on this list, but this is also our first Super Saiyan 4 Goku that transforms into the full power Super Saiyan 4 Goku, with pretty astonishing animations, mind you. It's actually kind of insane that, again, a unit that's released this recently as just like a basic Super Saiyan 4 Goku got this much hype and attention towards the unit, but with this OST and the quality of his animations, a lot of people loved how this unit was designed and how he looks in game, which is a reason why a lot of people enjoyed and were really hyped for this unit. Of course, he didn't age well. A lot of people still cope for him for this day because of how hyped they were with this unit. He is a very anticipated release. They got it, and again, the reason why he is one of the most hyped releases in Dokkan history, and again, the reason why he is on this list. Well, let's talk about the time where Global started going crazy with the initial release of LR STR UI Goku as a global first. Man, I cannot tell you as a global main how happy I was to see not only was UI Goku in the game as an LR for the first time in his Omen form, and was broken and had incredible animations. Like, the animations at the time of his release were insane. Like, nothing there was quality animations at the time, but for how buttery smooth the STR UI's animations were, they were just unparalleled for that time. And again, he was incredibly broken. So not only was he a global first, he was broken, he had crazy animations, and the reason why he just shook Global Dokkan completely, because no one was expecting a UI Goku just to drop out of thin air, and oh my gosh, everyone was going crazy if you were on Global when he dropped. Let's talk about the first transforming Super Saiyan Team Gohan, the LR AGL 1. Of course, he was the first Dokkan Fest LR for this card as well. He led the most broken category probably in Dokkan history, the Kamehameha category, just insanely filled with just broken units all over the place. I guess you could argue Bond of Parent and Child is up there as well, and maybe Pure Saiyans now due to all the fusions and tags and whatever that are not actually starting off as a fusion, but I mean, yeah, that category was insane, especially back in the day. He was great. He had great animations. His base form was great. I mean, of course, it sucked that you couldn't go into Super Saiyan 2 Gohan that often, but once you did, he had some really good animations and he had some crazy offensive numbers when he was in Super Saiyan 2. But again, I remember him pretty fondly due to the fact that he led in his stupid broken team. His animations were great, and of course, he had the chance to go Super Saiyan 2, which really added to the hype there. Now here's another unit I'm kind of on the fence on, and that was the Year 2s. And not that I don't think they're hype, I just don't remember if they were as hype as some of the other ones. And again, don't get me wrong, I loved Super Saiyan 4 Vegito when he came out. Dude, the AGL Mono team, when that came out, was one of my favorite teams ever to run. I ran the Super Saiyan 4 Vegeta, the AGL Rose, the AGL Super Vegito, the Blue Goku, the Blue Vegeta, and then the AGL Pan. And that team was so fun. It was like they were, I mean, of course, you were anchoring around Rose and Super Saiyan 4 Vegeta and Super Vegito, but man, like the whole team was just really fun to run all together and just to dominate all kinds of events with them. I kind of do miss the mono meta a little bit, but more so for nostalgia than anything else, because in all honesty, this is way better and healthier for the game to have diversity of types and whatever, but it was pretty fun to run the AGL team back in the day. So again, I'm not throwing shade at them, I just don't recall them being as of a, I don't know, I just don't recall them having that as much magnitude towards the whole community. But again, I also, this is like 9 years ago, or 8 years ago, so it's also a little foggy as well. Here's another set of units that I was a little on the fence of adding. And not that I don't think LR TEQ Super Vegito and LR AGL Super Gogeta are hype, but there comes a point where it's like, this is our fourth Super Vegeta. This is our fourth Super Gogeta, right? Like, is this really as hype as we're making it to be? Again, I'm putting on this list because they were really good units, and again, a lot of people were excited for the Dokkan original attacks that Vegito and Gogeta had, but I just think that there was definitely less hype for these two than, per se, the first introductions of Super Vegito and Super Gogeta, which I guess I could have thrown AGL Super Vegito on this list. He was pretty hyped then, too. But It's just, I mean, and I'm not saying fusing, tag, Vegito, and Gogeta aren't hype. I just wonder if they're on the same level as the first introduction to Ultra Instinct Goku, or the first introduction of Gogeta Blue, or, you know, the first transforming units, right? Again, I'm not saying they're not hype. I'm not saying that at all. I just wonder if they're on the same level as some of these other guys on this list. I'm putting them here just to cover my bases. Again, I'm kind of on the fence about it, but I mean, I'm definitely going to put them on this list because they are still really hype, and it's our first introduction of tag versions of these units with Dokkan original animations as well. All right, next we have Fizz VB and AGL Rose. Oh my gosh, I was at school when these guys dropped. Man, it's so long ago because I've been in school. But yeah, these guys were dropping in school. I was so hyped. Vegito Blue's first summonable introduction into the game. Same thing with Rose, Goku, Black. Remember the Super and Extreme banners? Dude, those were crazy too. The anticipation for these units were killing me. When they came out, and they actually came out during a reasonable time. They came out like at 1:30 or something like that. Like their banner release times were like around lunchtime for me during school time, which was pretty cool. But yeah, I mean, it was really cool to see what they were doing with these units. I think the introduction of units is what makes them most hype, because you're anticipating them to finally be in the game, and they get to use them. Like, oh my gosh, they're so broken, which again, Rose and Vegito Blue were both really broken. They led Extreme and Super Class teams, which was also really fun. So again, the reason why they're on this list is just due to all those factors. All right, the final unit I want to mention is the LR TEQ Goku and Frieza. It is pretty interesting because I don't think a lot of people were anticipating this unit being hype when they came out. Like, not that I don't think Goku and Frieza, of course, being the climax of the arc, not being hype, but it's just like, you just don't expect a base Goku and a final form Frieza to be like a pretty hype release. And not only was it their first introduction in the game, they were an LR as their first introduction into the game, and their animations were like the level of animations you would expect maybe on their second or third iteration of this card. Now, it is pretty crazy to say that there's only 2 versions of this card, and one came out in 2018, the other one just came out this year, so they definitely have a lack of representation, which is fine. But the way they made that unit look was really incredible. It was very broken. I mean, that's the reason why it was one of the most fondly remembered units in the game. First introduction, LR, crazy animations. I mean, it was pretty impressive what they pulled together for that unit. All right, let's start looking at honorable mentions. The first one I have is the World Tournament 23 Goku and Piccolo Jr. I had to include these two as honorable mentions. Not that I don't think they were hyped. This is the first iteration of Dokkan Fest in the game, but my biggest issue with them is the fact that they're Dragon Ball Saga units. And it's not my issue, I should say. I think they're really hyped. I think their animations are great. They're pretty fun units. The problem is everybody, you have to think of the consensus. A lot of people are not hyped for Dragon Ball Saga. I'm sorry, it is what it is. I'm not saying that it isn't hype. I'm just saying the casual person would say that. Right? And so when it comes to that, that's just the reason why I have to put them in the honorable mentions. They were great, but at the end of the day, they were DFE TURs, right? And DFE TURs back in the day versus now is a whole different scenario, right? Being a DFE TUR back in the day is basically being a Dokkan Fest LR. You know, DFE TURs now are just, you know, you're just a DFE TUR. So that, plus the fact that, again, it is Dragon Ball Saga, and not a lot of people, I would say, are always hyped for that, is the reason why I have to throw them in honorable mentions. But man, they were some really cool units. Next, I have Fizz Goku, kind of for the same reason as Goku and Piccolo. Not because that no one's hyped for God Goku, because everyone is. I love the OST, I love his intro. But again, a part of me had to hold back from adding him to the list due to personal bias, and that is because he's a DFE TUR. Look, I mean, it's a DFE TUR isn't just not going to do the same thing as an LR does. I don't know what it is about an LR that makes him so much more summonable, right? Because like Goku was good. You know, World Tournament 23 Goku was good. Piccolo Jr. was good. I mean, Piccolo Jr. is still used today, granted in the World Tournament, but you're still using him. But there's just something about the extra animations, the extra love they put into LRs that just gives them another tier over DFE TURs, even Major Celebration DFE TURs. So again, there's just something about that love they put into those units that is felt and seen, and the reason why I just cannot put Goku into the main list. All right, next I have TEQ Bardock for one reason alone, where that intro was saucy. But really, in all other regards, though, I don't remember him being that hype. But what is crazy is everywhere I look, or like on YouTube, like viewership-wise, this unit got a lot of attention. I couldn't believe it. Like, this unit got so much attention because, I don't know, just Bardock, I guess, or his intro, or his animation quality. I'm not even sure, because Bardock wasn't even that good. So I really don't know where all it came from. I mean, I know Bardock and Broly are like, I wouldn't say they're on the same tier of hype, but like if you look at any video game, right? Like if they don't include any movies or any extra stuff, they will always include Broly and Bardock, always, no matter what. So again, maybe that's the reason why Bardock is like was one of the crazier units, but Tech Bardock is very iconic in this community apparently. Now, here's the final unit. I would put Gamma 1 and 2, but the weird thing is yes, they were new, but I wouldn't say they move mountains. Now, I could throw LR STR Cell Max here. I really could. He had some amazing animations. He was really broken, but again, there was just something about Cell Max and the Gammas that just didn't hit as hard as like Dragon Ball Super or as like DBS Broly. I'm not saying they're not hype. I'm just saying they just didn't hit the same way as some of those did, even though they are new characters. But I think the final one I'm going to put is the STR Namek Goku. This might be personal bias on this last one, but it's on the main list, so I don't really care. The fact that he was a transforming unit with insanely high quality animations, and he's a monthly release, by the way. I mean, he could never make the main list at all. But this unit making the honorable mentions definitely makes sense for how much love they put into this unit. I mean, the animation quality on this card was crazy. You would think he was like a Sunday unit or something like that, and he just wasn't. So again, it is insane, and he's like one of the only units, I mean, the Gohan and Piccolo has it too, that manga feel to the card. It's just not common to see, and what makes them so unique, and it was really hype to see how quality everything was for this card. But let me know what you guys think in the comments below. We went through 21 units in this video. There were, I guess, 21 topics. There was more than 21 units. But let me know what you guys think about those units. Which ones would you remove? Which ones would you guys add to this list? I would love to hear it. Of course, I would love to throw every unit on this list because Dokkan Battle is peak. But we know some units had to be cut out because not every unit is the epitome of hype. But let me know in the comments below what you guys think. The first link to all of my voice content will be in the description below, and then the second link is going to be to all of my Dokkan Battle content videos, and I'll see you guys in the next one. Bye-bye.